Today I'm going to review the new album by Darkthrone called It Beckons Us All. This is their 21st studio album. This is a black metal band, one of the pioneers of the so-called second wave of black metal from the 90s. I know they've gone through many different periods where they've changed their style, starting with old school black metal, moving into crust punk, and now this era, which I will call it the black metal and doom metal period. This is going to be the third Darkthrone album that I reviewed on this channel as a new release. The first one was Eternal Hails from 2021. Then a year later, they released Astral Fortress in 2022. Now, 2 years later, they have a new album, and in my opinion, I think it's similar to the two aforementioned albums. The album has 7 tracks, it's 43 minutes long, and most of the songs are in the 4 to 7 minute range, with the exception of one instrumental that is a little over 3 minutes, and the final song, which is 10 minutes. But basically, the songs are pretty long. The lyrics are not always easy to interpret. So for example, the first track, Howling Primitive Colonies, is very metaphorical. They can be open to interpretation. But for example, this track mentions a hollow island, which could talk about a community that has lost its purpose. They mention excavation led to madness, which suggests the pursuit of material wealth, or I could be completely wrong. I really don't. Let's get more into this album. The opening track, as I mentioned, is called Howling Primitive Colonies. The intro to this is very psychedelic. It has a spacey atmosphere. But then the main guitar riff kicks in, and it sounds like some traditional black metal, but moving much slower than a typical black metal song. One thing I noticed about this song, and many of the other songs in the album, is that they don't overuse blast beats with the drumming. The drumming sounds more like traditional heavy metal, and the vocals are as you would expect with traditional black metal vocals. I really like the guitar riffs on the song. I can see if you're a typical black metal fan and you say you don't like this, I get it. But me, coming from my musical background, I thought it was pretty good. The song has some hard driving guitar riffs in the middle of the song, and I really liked that part of it. The next song is called Eon 3. First thing I noticed is that the opening guitar riff reminds me a lot of old school Black Sabbath. The opening riff had that kind of Barracuda style gallop, and then the second part of the riff was more of a typical black metal style guitar riff that was added onto this galloping section. The vocals are very interesting because the vocal section seems to be very sporadic as they come in and out of the song. The main guitar riff is also very repetitive. It played over and over like the first few minutes of the song. Halfway through the song, they shift gears and go on to another one of those Black Sabbath-inspired guitar riffs. They also get to a part of the song where they slow it down and they start sounding like some of those funeral doom bands like Pole Bearer. The next song is called Black Dawn Affiliation, and I guess you can call this either crust punk or black and roll. I don't know, I'm not an expert on black metal subgenres, but I thought this one had more of an accessible sound, but still maintaining that black metal essence. This is another one of those songs where they write the lyrics using these 2 or 3 word sentences which are used throughout the song. I thought this was a pretty good song. I know it was one of the singles and they did a music video for it. It's a type of song you can listen to on the radio when you're driving down a lost highway in the snow. That was my interpretation of it. I'm also noticing a pattern where about halfway point in every song they completely switch gears. On this song, about halfway through it, they go back to that classic doom metal sound they were using in the previous songs. At the end of the song, it gets very spooky where they repeat the song title over and over. It sounds like they're in some type of seance or something like that. And I think they're just like chanting the title over and over again. Now, we're at the halfway point of the album. We have come to an instrumental. And the name of the song is And in That Moment, I Knew the Answer. The song is pretty interesting. It's basically a guitar riff and the drums and bass come in and out of the song. So parts of the song you hear the isolated guitar riff. They continue to jam out. There's a little bit of that black metal where they do some tremolo picking, and there's some classic doom metal and some spacey atmospheric stuff. It's a pretty cool song. The next song is The Bird People of Nordland, and this appears to be about a group of people who lived during the Ice Ages. They mention things like fossils and things like that, but they are an indigenous population and they were susceptible to intrusion. Basically, it's about the environment and the beauty of nature, and again, that's my interpretation. I'm not sure if it's correct. Musically, the song is not much different than many of the other songs in the album. It has those black metal style guitar riffs that are played at a slower rate, but it seems they're mixing up with a lot of different styles on the song. About halfway through the song, they get very atmospheric with these strange psychedelic tremolo pick guitar riffs that sounded pretty cool. They speed up the song about 4.5 minutes, and then it sounds more like that black and roll or crust punk. The song is very dark and foreboding, but at the same time it has these classic heavy metal undertones. The next song is called The Heavy Hand. The song is dedicated to Vidar Langerund. I tried to look him up, but I didn't find anything on him, so if you know who he is, please let us know in the comment section. This is the second to last song. It's the shortest, non-instrumental. It's 4 minutes and 19 seconds. It's slow and heavy with lots of feedback and distortion. It's almost like doom metal mixed with a little bit of that Soundgarden type of sound, but at the same time it still sounds like black metal. The last song was called The Lone Pines of the Lost Planet. It's a 10-minute song. What's interesting is that they start the song with a clean guitar tone. It reminded me a lot of Sepultura's Beneath the Remains, but I don't think I've ever heard like a clean guitar tone in like black metal before. Of course, I may be wrong because I haven't listened to a lot of black metal, but after the first minute, you get more of those heavy Black Sabbath style guitar riffs. The lyrics are a little different. They seem to be talking about another planet. He mentioned something like an ice volcano on Pluto or something like that. Now it makes me think about how can there be an ice volcano and what happens when it erupts, but other than that, it seems to be about some astronaut who is stranded on this planet and has no way to communicate. The song moves pretty slow. We got some of those heavy doom metal style guitar riffs, like a Paradise Lost kind of sound. You also get some of that tremolo picking here as well. Then they go into this weird, trippy, and psychedelic interlude where you hear some running water in the background, and it conveys a sense of loneliness. The song was pretty different, but I like it. Now for my final thoughts, I think it's similar to their 2021 album, Eternal Hails. Not as much as their other album, Astral Fortress. Seems to be focusing more on slow and heavy doom metal, but keeping that signature Darkthrone sound. I like it only because I'm a big fan of doom. I'm not really big into black metal, but I like when black metal bands kind of change their sound. I tend to gravitate more towards those albums. I could see a true black metal fan not liking this, like I mentioned before, but this band has put out so many good albums that I don't think they're going to put out another Unholy Trinity like they did in the 90s. So for me, it's good. It's an 8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this. I'll link 2 videos to the end screen. The first one is going to be Astral Fortress from 2 years ago, and then I'm going to put Eternal Hails right there, which is a double review. I think I did it with the Pestilence album. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I do rock and metal reviews. I upload frequently, almost every day. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.